Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. I have a new sponsor, and I've rarely been as excited about a sponsor as this one, because the American Exploration and Production Council, AXPC, does now what I did until I retired from the active practice of law in 2016, which is try and make permitting rational. Ann Bradbury is their executive director and president, CEO. Ann, welcome. You won't know this because I doubt you listened to the show all these years, but from 1989 to 2016, when I retired from the practice of law, I was a federal permitting lawyer for land use developers and oil and gas explorers on the West Coast, primarily in the western states. So I know the EPA, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, state and local land use. It sent my kids to college, right, because permitting is forever and it's expensive. But if you've got a plan to make it simple, we need the energy because energy is freedom. What's the plan?
Energy is freedom. So thanks for that intro, Hugh. AXPC, first of all, represents the leading onshore producers of oil and natural gas domestically, and we care a lot about permitting reform. Demand for energy is going up. We are in an existential race to win AI with China, and we need vast amounts of energy, much more than we're using right now. And in order to make that happen, we need permitting reform, because as you well know, our permitting reform laws currently were built for a different era. And so if we want to win the AI race, and if we want to keep energy affordable and reliable here at home, we need to fix our permitting laws.
Now, and I'm going to have Lee Zeldin on tomorrow. Doug Burgum's been on a few times. I talk about permitting reform with everyone, but we really need a legislative fix for things like the Endangered Species Act and the Clean Water Act. What is the council actually looking to do? Because permitting reform could be anything from expediting the elevations EPA engages in on a 404 permit to actually stripping out the 10A process and letting people build and pipelines that we need.
That's exactly right. So our energy systems are incredibly complex. So from upstream to midstream to generation to transmission, permitting problems are prevalent at every part of the energy system. But there's really a few key components that we need statutory, durable permitting reform around. And the first is NEPA. So we need to modernize NEPA to remove a lot of the bureaucratic hurdles and redundancies that exist. Secondly, and you're a lawyer, you'll know this, Hugh, we need to end the NEPA litigation abuse. So NEPA is the most litigated environmental statute on the books. It's been around for 5 decades, and the lawsuits are generally targeted at stopping energy development, not enabling energy development. So we need some common sense reforms around the litigation process, which makes projects more costly, more risky, and often entirely derails them. On federal lands, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, because, well, the Center for Biological Diversity is one of many with whom I have dueled, including the Natural Resources Council and everybody else. It's always a legal duel. The lawyers get rich and the projects don't move forward. Do you want preemption of state and local laws, which also end up in a tumbleweed tangle of regs on top of the federal side?
So that's certainly something we'd consider. I think some other more recent, more sort of, other options on the table include limiting the litigation to stakeholders who are directly impacted. So you can't have a party from California come into North Carolina to sue on a project that they actually aren't impacted by at all. We should establish reasonable timeframes, so you can't wait years and years until a project is often operational before suing and trying to pull back a permit for that project. So, I think there's a lot of different options on the table to be considered. Some of them are bipartisan in nature, but anything that really reduces the amount of frivolous litigation that stops and drives up costs for these essential projects.
Now, if NEPA reform were to actually move to the floor, heads would explode on the left, and you'd be painted as extremists who are going to rape, pillage, and plunder the environment. Are you shaping the statutory battlefield right now by being on, like, with Ruthless and Me? Is that what the plan is? Because it's going to be quite a battle, and you need the Republicans actually to be on both sides. I know you're nonpartisan, but you need the Republicans to control the Congress.
Absolutely. So permitting reform has to be a bipartisan endeavor. We need durable long-term permitting reform. And that's going to require Republicans and Democrats coming to the table. Now, I think there is a growing consensus about the need to enact comprehensive permitting reform to win the AI race. And this has been impacting all forms of energy, not just oil and gas. So yeah, it's essential that Republicans come to the table. We're also having constructive conversations with Democrats because a lot of wind and solar projects have also been held up because of NEPA problems.
Well, keep coming back. NEPA is, I mean, it was the best of intentions, signed by Richard Nixon along with the Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act, and it was best of intentions. It's out of control, and AXPC, the American Exploration and Production Council, is going to fix it. And I look forward to our next conversation. I'll talk to Lee Zeldin about this tomorrow, and I appreciate your being on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Don't go anywhere, America. I'll be right back.